Have you ever thought this? If I were a boy, things would be easier. If I were a woman, life would feel different. Not as a joke, but seriously. And sometimes it does come out as a joke. You say it lightly, you laugh it off, but a joke doesn't come from nowhere. It usually carries a thought that has been sitting quietly in the background, and for a moment it feels true. Welcome to Regulate and Rise with Khyati and Lakha. This thought doesn't come from nowhere. It comes from how you experience life, not in theory, but in everyday moments. There are girls who grow up noticing opportunities that almost happened. A college they wanted to go, but it was too far and the family didn't feel comfortable. A school trip they were excited about, but they were told it's not safe. Decisions made for them, not always out of restriction, but out of protection. And somewhere, quietly, a thought forms: if I were a boy, this wouldn't have been a question because they had seen it. Brothers being allowed to go, to stay out, to decide more freely, not always explained, but clearly different, not always spoken, but deeply felt. And this doesn't stay limited to one moment. There are men who grow up noticing something else, not what they are allowed to do, but what they are not allowed to feel. Moments when things felt overwhelming, but they were expected to stay composed. Times when they needed support, but they were told, handle it. Conversations where they wanted to open up, but something within held them back. Not because they didn't feel deeply, but because they had learned that expression comes with judgment. And somewhere, quietly, a thought forms: if I were a woman, maybe I could express more. Maybe I wouldn't have to carry everything alone because they had seen it too. Women being able to express emotion more openly, to be supported without being questioned in the same way. Not always easier, but visibly different. Not always spoken, but deeply felt. Over time, these thoughts don't stay occasional, they become a quiet comparison. Life is easier on the other side. They have it better. And slowly you start distancing from your own experience, not rejecting it completely, not fully accepting it either, because it's easier to imagine a different life than to question the one you are living. But here's what we rarely question: are we really wanting a different gender? Or are we wanting less pressure, more freedom, more expression, more emotional space, because those are not gender specific needs, they are human needs. When this thought repeats, life would be better if I were different, a subtle resistance builds against your role, against your reality, and slowly against yourself. And your system feels it because your body doesn't just respond to what you do, it also responds to what you hold repeatedly. And sometimes you can notice it, a hesitation before you speak, a tightening in your chest when you want to say something, a constant sense of pressure without a clear reason. Not dramatic, but consistent, as if something within you is always adjusting instead of fully expressing. And over time, that adjustment starts to feel like you're normal. You're not wishing to be someone else, you are wishing to experience life differently. And somewhere along the way, you started believing that version of life wasn't available to you. And when you begin to see this, something changes. You stop wishing to be different. You start asking, what is it that I actually need that I haven't allowed myself yet? This is where the work becomes real. In my work through handwriting analysis, I have worked with people in their 30s, their 40s, even their 60s who didn't just think this way once, they had lived this way, shaping their decisions, their expression, their way of being around what they believed they were allowed to be. And over time, that doesn't stay only in thought, it begins to reflect in how they carry themselves, how they respond, and even how their body holds that pattern. And this is where awareness becomes powerful because once we begin to see these patterns, we don't just understand them. Through graphotherapy, we begin to work with them. So instead of continuing a pattern that was shaped unconsciously, you begin to create a different experience consciously. More expression, more clarity, more internal permission. And over time, you don't feel limited in the same way anymore. And if this is something you have been feeling or even noticing in someone close to you, you don't have to figure this out alone. You can reach out to me. Sometimes just understanding what you have been carrying is where everything begins to shift because it was never about becoming someone else. It was about becoming more of yourself without restriction. This is how we regulate, and this is how we rise.